Hey, what up, boxing fans? This is the Rope a Dope Report. I'm your host, Chris Carlson. I'm just going to do a quick prediction video. I do have a more of a thorough breakdown and analysis of the fight when it first got announced, a preview. But this is more of just X's and O's, some keys to the fight, and more of a, you know, condensed prediction pick. So I'm going to break it down a little bit, name some keys, some elements that may, come into play, some key factors, and then just get right to the prediction. So the first thing that stands out is the jab for me, both of them. Now, just because he's used it a little more and we've seen it at a higher level against higher level opponent, especially against Sean Porter for Brook, I'd say Kell Brook might have the better jab, but both of them have a pretty good advantage or pretty good jab. I'd give the advantage to Brook. Um, with that jab, Brook, it's very crisp and everything like that, and he can do it on the move, and sometimes he takes steps back and can pump the jab, right? He can vary it. Although sometimes when he's doing that, and just in general punching, stepping back, he does pull straight back at times. I noticed that as well. As far as overconfidence coming into this fight, who's going to be the more overconfident fighter? And I bring this up because both these guys have power, and it's a big fight for both their career, especially Spence. I mean, Spence has a lot of buzz and a lot of hype, right? But he has yet to face a top tier guy. So could he be reading his own press clippings? Could he be believing too much in the hype and come in there overconfident and end up losing or getting caught with something he shouldn't? And then on the other side, Kell Brook, he fought and pretty much cleanly beat Porter. Now you could say the clinch helped him a lot, but I thought he beat him either way. And then obviously the Golovkin fight. Now he got injured in it. He got hurt and everything like that, especially early in the fight. But that was two weight classes above against a big puncher. So in that uppercut, like kind of lifted Golovkin off the canvas, he was able to go toe to toe and bang in there. So there's got to be some confidence in there. He could come overconfident as well and say, you know what? In fact, I've even heard him quoted on saying this on IFL TV and other sources that he's just going to rush Spence. He's actually going to go right at Spence. So who's going to be a little too overconfident? That could play a part. Both guys have good reflexes, good hand speed. Who has the faster hands? I'd probably save it for the ring. It's close enough that I want to kind of see who's the fastest. But like I said, they both have good reflexes. Neither guy stands out as a defender. Like I said, they use their reflexes to move their head once in a while. But neither fighter, in my opinion, has shown a whole lot of defense. Now, you could say Kell Brook has used his movement, his feet as defense, which obviously could come in hand. And speaking of that, maybe Brook won't come blazing at him, right, and push the pace to him. Maybe he will be using the whole ring. Will Spence be able to cut him off? Will he be able to cut off the ring and be as effective with a guy not just standing in front of him? That's something we're going to have to see. And speaking of that overconfidence thing again, Spence can come in there and get caught with shots, but also Brook, I notice when he has guys that he doesn't respect, not to say he won't respect Spence, but when he's offensively aggressive, he does open up. I mean, you have a tendency to open up anyway, but he does leave himself open when it comes to that. And obviously, the eye injury. The eye injury, yes, it's healed, but we all know with injuries like that, sometimes it can be healed. You can test it out, it's fine. But then you get a 12-round, fight, and especially with a bigger puncher like Spence is, you just never know. I'm not saying, they wouldn't have probably let him fight, right, if it was damaged. But you just never know. On the inside, is Spence going to be able to deal with the Kell Brook clinch, something Porter had problems with? That's going to be interesting. I think Spence does the better work on the inside. He's a great body puncher. I definitely give that advantage to Spence. And I noticed when it is on the inside, he is open. Brook is open for the body. So we'll find out, how that goes down. Um, just kind of looking at that Porter fight now. Porter comes forward, Spence comes forward, but we know Spence is a little bit more responsible, a little more smarter, a little bit more measured. Whereas Porter is just going to battle ram his ass in, right? He's going to be overly aggressive and he smothers himself. And part of that clinch is not smothering yourself. I mean, Porter does it to himself sometime and just invites a clinch. Anthony Joshua had an answer at times for the clinch on Vlad, who also can clinch very well on the inside. But just breaking down that Brook Porter win, like I said, I realize if they would have called holding, it could have been a different fight. But I saw a clean win by Kell Brook. His jab was so good. The lead right hands were great, or just the jab right hand. He's very fluid, very fast-handed, and you can see that they landed. And the oohs and ahs from the crowd, even if he doesn't land clean, will be there influencing the judge, or the judges, I should say. And it does, I don't know, both of them land clean shots and flashy shots, right? So I don't know if anybody has an advantage there. Sometimes the guys that come forward are just a little more crude, and they're hitting your neck and the side of your head and the shoulder, and sometimes judges don't they don't count that or whatever. I think it's been like 7 or 8 knockouts in a row. It's been a while. I mean, the inexperience at the highest level for Spence is definitely key, obviously. And then just not going the distance much. I mean, he hasn't really been past 8 many times at all. And there could be a lot of adrenaline, a lot of energy burn just getting into the ring, let alone if they have, moments of exchanges, or even if he does have Kell a little hurt early and he decides to go for it, he could, need that second win. Will it be there? A lot of people point to Emmanuel, I think it's Lartey, that fight. It was an interesting fight. I thought it was a good developmental fight. I think it was under 10 fights that he fought that dude. But Spence got caught with a right hook, flush as hell. And a lot of people say, well, he got caught with that punch, 1. And 2, he was being a little over aggressive, didn't have his hands up. And 2, that they didn't like how he moved his head a strange way. And to be honest, they didn't like the way he reacted. I guess that's what I hear. That's what I see a lot. To me, he moved his head out and immediately used an angle to go backwards and put his guard up. So I didn't have a problem with that. What I had a problem with was how he came in and left himself wide open for a right hook. Now, I think that was like his 10th fight or whatever. It was a while ago now, but it could rear its ugly head. And walking down a guy like Kell Brook is just different. It's much different than Algieri or Bundu, even though Bundu was actually bringing the pressure. And then the weight. A lot of it has been made of Kell Brook's weight. Now, the last 2 fights, he got a nutritionist, one to go up in weight and put on muscle mass, which you could clearly see he did. And now he's done it to get to 147. And it's hard not to think that it can't play some sort of role, especially with a thudding, vicious body puncher like Spence. I know that I'm pretty sure he showed a video, I think on Tuesday, of him weighing in at like 148.2. That's what some UK people told me. That's whatever stones it is, 18, 19 stones. I have no clue. I'm not going to add 10 stones, 8, I don't know. I'm ignorant as hell when it comes to that. Celsius I can mess with, but stones, we could throw them, but I can weigh them in my hand. Yeah, that's a heavy one. It's heavier than that one. I don't really know what the hell that translates to, but I heard the technical 148.2. And if he's 148.2 on Tuesday, that's a pretty good sign to an extent, because sometimes you can get down too early, as we know as well. But then again, was that after a workout? Was that after a session in the gym? Was it after a day's work in the gym running as well? I don't know. That I don't know. If he's just straight up about to start his day and he weighs in at 148.2, I'd be surprised. My guess is that it was after a workout. But either way, I think he makes the weight. It's not about him making the weight. I think he makes the weight. It's about the unknown of how his body will respond to going way up and coming way down. So, in the end, the thing is, when you're on the road, generally speaking, if it's like a 7-5 fight, even if Brook only won 5 rounds, it's hard for me to not think he won't get the win, right? If it's an 8-4 fight, it could be a split decision victory for him or a draw or whatever. I'm not just ripping on the UK and Sheffield. I'm just saying it's true. You don't always see it, but you see it plenty times in Germany and the United States. It just happens. It happens. Now, plenty of fighters have gotten fair shakes as well, but we've seen it plenty of times. So I do think that Spence is going to have adversity within the first 4 to 6 rounds. I really do. I don't see how Brook won't be able to land his jab in that right hand and just those quick hands. I think he's going to be able to do that. Now, it's really up to Spence to see if he can get hit with the jab. And it's not about just head movement. It's about making an adjustment to it. It's about timing Brook. It's about positioning your feet and your body in the right place so you're not consistently getting hit with the same punch. And that's an unknown because he hasn't done it at the high level. With the injury, with the weight gain and then the weight drop, and he, for years he said, the last couple of years he said it's so hard to get to 47, and he even admits he's killed himself to get there, but it's, he's hitting all his right, weights as far as the camp has been dwindling down. So I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot there. And to me, this is a really close fight. And I could see me thinking, okay, I think Spence won 8-4. And he could still lose. He could definitely, if I was in fantasy boxing, right? And honestly, we used to do fantasy boxing for Rope a Dope Radio. I would just pick Kell Brook because I think that he's going to get the nod on the cards in a competitive fight. It doesn't have to be 6-6 on the scorecards as far as you and me at home scoring that. It doesn't have to be that. So it may be, you may leave. I have a feeling you're going to mid and late. I feel like that's when Spence is going to come on and those body punches are going to start to take their toll. I just think the injury and the up and down in weight, it just might be a little too much. It's a pick 'em fight for me. I completely respect Kell Brook, but I'm going to pick Spence by split decision. I think Brook will get one of the cards, obviously. Maybe there'll be a draw. Maybe he'll get one of the cards. But I see it as like a 7-5, 8-4 fight. And just me saying 7-5, that's a Kell Brook victory. This is not a fight that I put money on. I want to see the weigh-in tomorrow before I'd start throwing a bet down on a knockout or whatever. Anyway, that's my prediction. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously, we had a wide variety of opinion on the Rope a Dope Radio podcast last night. You can check it out at blogtalkradio.com/Rope a Dope Radio, iTunes, which is now Apple Podcast, Player FM, TuneIn, Stitcher. Enjoy the fight, man. I cannot wait for this fight. Peace.